I'm here to talk a little bit about the EFL Teacher's Handbook and the crowdfunding campaign, which has just begun. So it all began about 2 years ago when I started writing some short articles for EFL magazine and LinkedIn, and the idea started to brew what perhaps the options might be in terms of writing a book for EFL teachers mainly, and for others in the education industry. So that allowed me to think a little bit about how to structure this thing, for want of a better word, and so I decided it would be best to write at my own pace, which is why I didn't require an editor at that time, and I just kept writing prolifically, a bit like Woody Allen, where he would make a film a year. I just kept writing articles. So between 800 to 1200 words is typical article, so that would be one sort of part of each unit. So there are a number of different units in the book. So for example, there'll be how-tos, how to do things, whether it's how to use stories, role plays, using films, things like that, in your lessons. So it really looks at all those things with resources and tips, some from my own experience, trying to use some creativity, and I do have a film background in terms of I studied film. I did a master's in film theory, so that's why there's quite a lot of stuff on film in the book. There's quite a lot about there's teacher stories and interviews. I thought it'd be very interesting to get sort of different approaches to teaching, different areas of teaching, such as CELTA, Delta, Business English, and English for specific purposes and for academic purposes. So really something for everyone. That's the idea, to make it broad and relevant and interesting for teachers all over the place. So it was definitely a journey of discovery, and I got to interview some very interesting characters who taught me lots of things, and along the way. And that was the process of actually writing the book before I got it published. So then, of course, I had to think how I was going to publish the book. So I had a few ideas. I thought about Amazon Kindle at first. I thought about doing it on my own website, but I didn't know how. In the end, I found that it was best to use Amazon Kindle. I thought I was going to begin with an ebook, but then it turned out actually that I would need to reformat everything. So I was reluctant to do that at that point in time. I was ready after I'd worked very hard with indexing and so on, after copywriting, proofreading, to go through another process which would take time and energy. So I wanted to publish it, obviously, after working hard towards that goal, and then I published it on Amazon as a paperback on the 14th of April this year, 2017. So I left it open. I thought, yeah, it would be maybe something to do in the future, go for an ebook that can be, perhaps viewed by for many people. I think would perhaps prefer to use their iPad or their telephone to read something, which is a sign of the times, and I respect that. But I do have, a certain affinity for the old-fashioned books. So it was a great pleasure. It has been a great pleasure to to make a paperback. But I think an ebook would be one of the things that this crowdfunding project is dedicated to, and as I've written a number of ideas that I've got from a few excellent people that I know. One lady who's involved in marketing for a specific publication that reviews books, generally speaking, so it's not something for education, but has given me very good advice to do with using Facebook and LinkedIn, of course, as well as business-to-business publishers, and how to do that. So some more detail, so I can get on with it once, hopefully, things get going with the crowdfunding. So that's something that's up in the air, obviously, at this time. So a few things like, targeted, sponsored advertisements. With LinkedIn, I have more than 12,000, something like 12,700 contacts in the either in the education, publishing industries mainly. So it would certainly target those people in the nicest possible way. And on Facebook, I have already put the feelers out a little bit, and I think what I found already, I used a video, which was, there was too much text in there, so I learned not to use too much text, although I wanted to use the table of contents so that people watching it could certainly find out what's actually in the book. Yeah, it is certainly a voyage of discovery. So far there has been quite a lot of interest from other teachers. Language centres have already bought the book, and a couple of other English teachers. A library here in the Netherlands, a bookstore. Mainly it was more of a possibility in the future, as they do not have an education section, but they are thinking of getting one, so they'll hopefully get in contact. So there's a lot of ifs and buts there, but I have some good tips, and certainly plenty of momentum, and a great product, of course. But I think marketing is a very tough one. I think that's why I went ahead with the crowdfunding campaign, because, as a teacher, obviously, I don't have millions to spend myself. I mean, the real point of this book is, to provide something for teachers that can help them to think a little bit about, how do I do this, and maybe I could do this differently, or oh, that sounds interesting, I'd like to try that, and hopefully to inspire and motivate, which, yeah, it sounds a bit arrogant to assume that, but if you can at least, enthuse somebody and give them sort of a sense of, wow, this is a great job, and I'm very grateful to do it, and to be able to write about it too, it's one of the most wonderful things. So if you can even just sense that kind of enthusiasm, which I think you will if you read just a single page of the book, then hopefully it will rub off. So what I can say is, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this description. It's the first time I've spoken without any notes I have to add, and I hope it made sense. So yeah, it would be great if you can help, and if not, then just maybe read the book, and just send me a line if you have any advice or tips. That would be most appreciated. Thank you. Bye-bye.